Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. Before I start this episode, I just want to take a minute to really thank the viewers for all their kind words and well wishes. Since I've been home, I've had a lot of health issues as far as catching COVID, getting sick. And, I don't want to go into the, what my opinion is of I guess we can't say it here on YouTube, but the jab and all that. But, I believe that, me accepting it before I came out of federal prison had jeopardized my immune system. So, the last few weeks, the last month, I've been battling bronchitis, and then I had pneumonia. But not only that, I've been to the emergency room a couple of times in the last couple of weeks because of that, and because of my physical condition, which is my back. They took some x-rays and they said my bottom vertebrae are smashed together, smashing a nerve that shoots down my back and to the right side of my leg. And even right now to this day, just the last few days, I've been going in and out of clinics trying to walk. But, I believe that I'm on my way to full recovery, hopefully. But, with that being said, the story that I relate today is the same thing. It's on the same level as far as, being out here in the world, you deal with all these adversities, whether that's, trying to find a job, whether that job is able to support your lifestyle or able to allow you to make rent and put food on the table. Just like in there, you're going to face a lot of adversity, as you already know. But the adversity just doesn't come from the violence, or fear of altercations with other inmates or even staffs. The adversity that you're sitting there, that you face all the time, a lot of it is mental. Because especially at the place that I am at now, I'm in the SMOOTH program in Lewisburg, and you're stuck in your cell. It's basically 24-hour lockdown. Like I tell you, you get a little relief a few times a week for an hour at a time for rec. But for the most part, it's just you and your thoughts. And if you don't know how to set yourself a program, it's only a matter of time before you drive yourself insane. For those of us that believe in ghosts, the supernatural, and all that extra stuff, then you're going to have to believe there's a lot of spirits, a lot of soul flowing through the hallways of Lewisburg and other penitentiaries like it. Through the course of my time that I was there, listening to NPR, listening to Democracy Now! And the local channels over there, that's all you hear. They're giving you the history of Lewisburg as far as when it became a SMOOTH program. And the history they're giving you is of the lawsuits that are being put in place in Lewisburg because of the atrocities that are being committed there by the staff. But it's not just like staff on inmates, staff beating the inmate to death or anything like that, which has occurred. But the abuse comes from the staff not acknowledging the environment that you are in and are not hearing the cries of help that these inmates, ask. Some people, like for me, I live by a different set of rules and it's different set of code and conduct that aren't necessarily healthy, but it's what I choose to abide by and live by. But other people don't toe the same line as I do. And I'm not here to fault them for it or anything. Because at the end of the day, each and every one of us is a living entity. And our first priority as a living entity is to live, is to survive by any means possible. So there's people in there that don't have a problem letting the police know that they have a problem, that they have issues with their cellies and they can't be in here. Like me, I'm gonna deal with my cellie and we're gonna deal with it however we have to. And if only one of us come out of that cell because of whatever issue we got brewing, then that's what it is. That's not to say that I'm any tougher than the next man or more convict than the next guy. It's just, this is just the mentality that I've been raised with and grown up with and lived with. But a lot of people that come into the penitentiary, that are placed in the system, they were probably just, addicts that went out and robbed a bank to support their habits, or they got caught up in something that they weren't, quite prepared for, and they haven't really fully bought into the lifestyle of this gang life, of this prison life, and all the extra shit. So when they come up through a situation and they see that the situation might be hazardous for them, they don't have a problem letting the staff know, hey, I don't think I can be in a cell with this dude. We're both on medication, we're both schizophrenic or whatever. But the COs, they don't give a fuck. When you tell them that, hey, I have an issue with this guy and I can't be in here with them, they're looking there and they're, and there's sarcasm, there's smart ass, well, I don't see nobody dead. They walk off. But then when the bitch ass come back around to do their rounds, look back in that cell, they say, yeah, there is somebody dead. 2 cases out that was always on the radio while I was there in 2016 was of these 2 individuals. These are 2 separate cases. And both of these inmates, they were both killed by their cellie. And in both cases, both the cellies, one of the cases, both the cellies were on meds. They were both been diagnosed with schizophrenia and other mental illnesses. And it's heartbreaking when you're listening to the broadcast because the daughter is on the program with the lady from Democracy Now! And the daughter is reading letters from her father. Sorry. Being in there and having friends of mine receive those phone calls. Anybody that's been locked up, if you're on the yard and they call over the intercom and say, hey, so-and-so report to the chapel. You have a phone call. If you've been locked up, that it only means one thing. That means that somebody in your family passed away. That's why you're being called up to the chaplain to receive this bad news. And during the time that I've done, seeing that happen to the people around me, I'm so grateful, all grace to the Almighty that I've been spared that pain, that phone call. But a lot of my friends in there weren't. After you do a couple decades of stuff, people out here, it's going to start moving on to the next world. And it's not that, the sad part is not that they're moving on. It's that you sitting in that cell knowing that you fucked up, you almost threw away your life, or you have thrown your life, and you can't be here for them. You can't be here to prep them for the proper burial, see it and send them off, and be here to support your family and all that, you know? So, some things that can't be avoided. You know, out here, your parents, your siblings or whatever, they might have been able to live a full life, and now it was their time and they're moving on, you know, or maybe it was an accident that couldn't be avoided. And so the tragedy. But listening to this young girl read letters from her father that he was sending her home every week, telling her, hey, you know, I've told these COs that I don't feel safe in here. You know, my cell, he's a schizophrenic, he's on meds, and I'm worried for my life. She had like tons of these letters that, you know, when we was listening to Democracy Now!, that she was reading on air. And these letters took the course of a few months. That, you know, every letter that comes in and out of the penitentiary is read by the SIS, by the staff. You're not, unless you got your code, you know, your form of communication down to a T, everything gets read. So these staff members, that before the mail goes out at night, before it goes out in the mail, you know, into the mail truck the next day, that night, these people are reading the letters that's coming out of these cells that are being sent home. So they can see that these letters that this dude is in this cell pleading for his life, because pleading to his daughter to get a hold of somebody to plead for his life, because the line of communication that he's trying to go through with the staff in there are not being heard or being ignored. And every letter was a plea. Said, hey man, you know, my celly's crazy. I don't think I'm gonna make it in this cell. I'm worried that I'm gonna wake up, you know, that I'm not gonna wake up one day that this guy's gonna kill me. And over again, for the course of how many freaking months, the letters were ignored. Until they did a round and found the man dead in his cell. You know, his cellie had killed him. But his cellie was clinically crazy, was diagnosed with schizophrenia, paranoia, and all the extra shit. This is in his medical records. What are you doing as a medical professional that works in these facilities that cover mental health, allowing somebody with these type of illness to be put with another inmate? You know the potential harm that this can lead to. But fuck all that. Here was a man in his cell pleading for help, saying, hey, I need to get the fuck out of this cell because I fear for my life. But you, as the administration, as the mental health professional, and whatever else, you choose to ignore this man's plea. And now, his daughter doesn't have a father. And now, his mother, his father don't have a son. You know, these are the things that gets me riled up, because at every single turn, these incidents were avoidable if you so choose to do your job and take these complaints seriously. Here wasn't a guy that was just making up shit about his cellie. There's a fucking tag. You know, you have a door tag with your name, your medical condition, and everything right there for the fucking staff to come and look at it. Because every day you have what they call pill line, where they come out and pass out your fucking meds. So they know who's taking all the fucking psych meds, behavioral meds, and all that shit. And we And we, living in the penitentiary, learn to recognize that shit, because you better know who the fuck is crazy around you. You know, even though this guy's not acting up, he doesn't act wild or whatever, but you better look at that motherfucking pill line. You better look at that door tag. When you're locked down, who comes to what door and what. Because we all know that all these motherfucking medications that these staffs, that these administrations guinea pig you with has fucked up side effects. You know, not just the addictive part of the medication, but the psychedelic part. Because these are medications that are being used to modify your behavior, because they felt maybe you were a force to be reckoned with, that you couldn't be controlled through, you know, physically. So they trick your ass or force your ass and somehow get you hooked up on these medication. And through the course of the years, if you're taking these medication, your body become dependent upon it. But they don't tell you all the side effects and shit. You know, I met a lot of thorough dudes that were past their prime. Meaning past their prime was when I met them, you know, they had to shake, they were drooling, you know, goofy. And my first impression is like, damn, who the fuck is that retard? But it turned out that this dude was a thorough dude, was a solid dude. But through the course of his incarceration, the administration couldn't figure out how to control him, how to subdue him. So somehow they got his ass on meds. And a lot of these people get put on meds. You see them on meds after they leave ADX or control units like SMU, like the SMOOTH program. You know, a lot of things can be avoided in the system if these people that work in the system do their job. You know, I don't want to say I have a purpose or that I'm on a mission, but, you know, I come out here to give you guys the reality that I've lived in for the last 2+ decades. The reality that my friends, people that I grew up with, people that I care about with, still exist in to this day. You know, men like us, we're not complaining about the time that we're in, that we're doing. We're not even complaining about the violence that we're surrounded by. But we do have issues with how the system is set up for us to fail. And when I mean fail being harmful, being detrimental to your existence. Because these staff members don't want to recognize certain things in the penitentiary. And one of those things are mental illness. They've closed the insane asylum around this country. The penitentiary is where they put all the crazies now. You know? But, you know, I come out here to give your viewers, which I call civilians, by no means is that a term of disrespect or anything, a dose of what's really going on behind that wall. I'm out here being the voice for the voiceless. Because while you're behind that wall and you're on that 15-minute phone call and you're trying to reach out to people out here in the world to let them know that the atrocity that's going on back there, no one gives a fuck. No one cares because first, you know, us being in the penitentiary, us being locked up, their concept or their idea of us is that we're a bunch of rapers and child molesters and shit. So already there's a stigma that we're already the lows of lows. And we're not deserving, to be heard. And two, even if people believe you, the rest of the world out here, we're too busy with our lives to really care or even do anything about it. So the shit keeps repeating itself, keeps continuing. And kids continue to grow out without a father. Parents continue to get the news and your son's body's being sent to you. And they're asking questions, why? And you're never going to be able to get the answer until you sue these motherfuckers. And that's going to take you 10 years to get through the courts to find out what really happened to your family member, what happened to your father, what happened to your son, your daughters. So yeah, part of my program, part of my purpose out here is just letting you guys into my world, but letting you see it, not just from my perspective, but for what it really is. Welcome to the USP.